So we're going to call to order at 5:30.
We have a clock like that.
That's long by a few minutes. 5:30. Any adjustments to the agenda?
I have one.
Okay.
So Holland Hill recommendation to award contract.
Yep.
Can we please put that first?
Yep.
And then we'll do cutting his taxes and write down the list.
Sounds good. Okay. Approval of minutes, August 15th and August 29th.
So one of these I wasn't here for.
Let's get this right.
Let's see.
That would be the August 15th,
Yeah.
so I'll move. So we'll have to do them separately, I guess. So I'll move to approve the minutes of August 15th.
I'll second that. And if there's no further discussion,
Good.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No.
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm staying,
Yeah.
sorry.
And then I was not present for the August 29th one, so.
So I can move to approve the minutes of August 29th.
You said.
I second that. Looking for them.
Any comments? Oh, you know what?
I have the official copy for August 15th, but I don't think can I sign that? I don't think I can sign that. We've been through this
No.
since I wasn't here. So this has to be signed by,
Actually, no, I think you can, well, I can sign it, it's fine.
okay.
Um,
But I don't have
I think
the
you
one
probably
for
can as long
29.
as we vote on it, but,
Should have been right on.
I can, whatever.
I don't think it
There you are.
Is this the one?
But I don't have the originals for the 29th. That's. Do you have it? That's-
So you moved it,
Overabundance needs a
I moved it,
space.
but I'm wondering, well, at least on this, I guess it was the one I read. It looks like there's one page missing on this one.
It looks it.
Page 2, yeah.
Yep.
on the 15th? Oh, I have that, I have the back side of that.
Okay. Oh, no, this isn't it, actually, it's the other one. So, the one on the 15th.
This is the 15th.
That's what I
so-
was here for, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
you were here for both of them.
yeah, I was, let me see. Oh, this is, yeah, the only thing is, for this one, this just almost seems like a non sequitur here, because it's talking about all this stuff, and then it just says Steve had suggested. I just think we should say why we want Nora Bartlett here, because this doesn't mention anything here about
Rep to Rescue Inc.
Rescue Inc.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's from Rescue Inc. That was the only thing I noticed.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's the signed copy there, so that's.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so it's been moved and seconded for the minutes for
The 29th.
the 29th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Good. Gotcha.
Okay, any public comment on items not on the agenda? Doesn't look like it. So select board items, so we're gonna shift the Holland Hill recommendation to award the contract first. And
So we had 11 contractors at the mandatory pre-bid meeting.
Mhm.
We had 7 bids come in.
mhm.
And in your packet is a list of the contractors with the bids.
Wow, that was good.
So yeah, there's a
Surprised.
low, there's a middle, and there's a high. So,
What are we missing?
Yeah.
well, I'm just to let you know, like the 3 high bids are all bigger companies in either northern Vermont or New Hampshire. They do a lot of bridge work. And then you have Harlow and Evans, local. But Brian and I went over the bids, and everybody did capture the scope of the project. The larger companies too. We're thinking they needed cranes, but that's not the case because Renewal is gonna have a crane. He's gonna set the culvert. And then the contractors will pretty much do the scope of the work, which is, so they're gonna remove the existing culvert, install the precast box culvert, and some wing walls. They gotta de-water the site, do some digging, backfilling, and everything that's specified in the plans done by Bell Engineering. So, Brian has trucked some gravel up to the site already, and as you know, he's putting in the temporary road with the culvert. So I thought it was pretty good that we did have 11 contractors with 7 bids coming in.
Such a,
Range.
yeah, I know, that's
Right.
remarkable.
This is as wide as I've seen, but it's not unusual for them to be remarkably wide.
Wow.
You know?
Now, I do have the bids here if you want to review them. So here's your high. And there's your low.
Have we worked with any of these companies in the past?
We have, yeah.
Okay, so the,
Archie Clark
Yeah.
did the project for us on Hickory Ridge Road last year, or 2 years ago.
okay.
Other than that, none of these that I'm aware of has done an actual project for the town with us. Several of them are known.
Mhm.
I don't know these northern ones. I know of Fitzpatrick. This is not our local Fitzpatrick.
No, he's not a
excavator.
Wardsboro.
It's I think he's a cousin maybe of Bill's, but,
He did work in Westminster.
and then Frank and, so, Brian has starred Clark as,
The recommendation to the board, both of the low bidders, both contractors are, highly capable of doing the job. It is Brian's recommendation to award to A.S. Clark and Sons
Mhm.
based on experience and work ethics with the town.
Yeah.
Because Brian's worked with them before.
on town
And
stuff.
he's confident that it will be done on schedule and by the scope. So that is Brian's recommendation.
And have you seen these other bids or not?
No.
Have you looked? I mean, the range is,
Bid opening and they,
I did email
think you
all
just
the
read the numbers.
contractors the actual bid amounts.
I'm just surprised, I mean, that, the 4 of these all make sense to me in the lower range. The 3 top end all seem surprisingly high. I'm just, you're not thinking twice about your number going, what did I miss?
no.
You spoke to Mike Renault also, right, Archie?
What's that?
Did you have a conversation with Mike at all, Renault?
Yeah. Yesterday, Monday, I guess it was.
Yeah.
About the schedule. He said he could, late next week, he could set the boxes. He has everything on board, I guess.
Right, and if you had any questions about the project, you pretty much knew.
And what's your schedule looking like? You were able to jump on it pretty
Yep.
quickly?
It's a pretty
Yeah, I
tight,
mean,
it's a pretty tight window.
It is very
yeah,
tight.
that's,
Definitely.
which, one reason I think someone more local makes sense. But
Right.
then, but then you mentioned the crane thing, but here it says that's an exclusion, crane service provided by town of Putney, so
Right.
that's not adding to their cost for the high bid, that is. So,
No, I think Karen's point about these being bridge people and, you know, I mean, they're
Yeah.
looking at putting people up in hotels and, you know,
Right.
setting up a job site trailer and, you know, all of that kind of
So
stuff, because
here's
that's what they do. But-
The other flip side of this, so the box culvert, we contracted with Renewal, and as you know, it was $85,716. So finishing this project at, you know, 30,000 or 35,000.
Puts us in the realm of where we want to be.
Yeah, because we have a grant
Right,
for the
Yeah.
100, you know,
yeah,
what
so
was the grant for again? 100?
it was 200,000, but we have 20,000 match,
Right.
so.
right. So it puts us all in good stead.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, I'm rarely, if ever, one to argue with the recommendation of one of our department heads,
No.
so,
Especially,
especially given that the numbers make sense. You know.
Yeah.
so I would move to accept the bid for the Holland Hill project from A.S. Clark and Sons for $35,250.
I second that.
Been moved and seconded to accept the bid from A.S. Clark and Sons for $35,250 for the box culvert project on Holland Hill Road, based on the recommendation of Brian, Arlo, and Karen having reviewed this. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Good, thank you.
You start tomorrow, aren't you? I'll
be
be your
there now.
contract. I'll be your contract. I'll be in touch.
Can you get it tomorrow, or do you work Friday? No,
Of course, yes, I do.
oh, you 5 to 8.
Uh-huh, yep. Sometimes 6, but I'll be in touch. I'll get something written up and
Yeah, and I have a proof of insurance for it.
great. You have it with you? I will take that. You're right on top of things. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Archie. Have a good
Have a
night.
good night.
Okay. Next, so we'll go to the Putney Historical Society after that. So I spoke to Lisa earlier and she said she would not be here, but she would, that there would be representation. So I'm thinking all of you are here for that purpose. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So, Town Hall second floor occupancy, and I think we had been told that you all were interested in occupying the second floor, but if you want to elaborate for us, that would be great.
Well, it might be helpful to you if I gave you a little background of how we got where we are now. When I was a small child, this whole floor of the town hall was taken up with the post office and the library. And this wall was all closed in, and the library was in where the town manager's office is now. And the rest of this floor was post office, and they came in the side door. The lobby out here was only used to go upstairs, and the upstairs was used for town meeting, and we had dances up there, we had entertainments up there, all kinds of things. At some point, apparently the library wanted more space, and they turned things around somehow, and this became the entrance for the post office. And the library took up most of what's beyond that wall. And then at some point, the library, I think the post office moved out first, built their own building. And then the library built their own building. In the meantime, back in the 40s, 50s, whatever, the town clerk's office was in the town clerk's home. So there was no daily town presence here in this building. And when Mr. Parker was no longer town clerk, Mrs. Harlow took over as town clerk, and I think she had been his assistant. And that's when the town clerk's office moved into this building. There was no planning commission, there was no zoning, there was, and the town clerk and the town treasurer were the same person, and they handled all of that stuff. And so that space over there was, and Mrs. Harlow was probably the one person who was responsible for getting the Putney Historical Society off the ground. The beginnings of it were in 1953 at the 200th bicentennial celebration. But I think the society didn't really get going until the early to mid-60s maybe. But since Mrs. Harlow was based in this building, this is sort of where the Historical Society grew. And when I first became involved, this room in here was our office. And that room over there was cram jam full of all the stuff that you see upstairs. So we moved everything that, I mean, the town wanted more space. Oh, and that table belongs to the Historical Society, by the way.
Thank you.
And I think the sideboard out in the other room belongs to them as well. Well, we had one member who frequently would mention that, you know, that table belongs to the Historical Society. So we moved all of our stuff upstairs with the intention of having our museum up there. And we paid a lot of money to get those big monstrosity cases moved up there. And then other groups began to come along. As soon as we started talking about, you know, maybe a grant to get an elevator put in and to get some heat up there and so forth, then other groups started coming along and, oh, well, we could use that space, we could use that space. Well, and we said, hey, you know, if we're gonna do the work, we want some assurance that it's gonna be our space. And I don't know what happened, but at some point, the lock has been taken off the door. So we don't even have it secured anymore.
We had to do that because of the
Fire.
insurance.
Fire safety.
Yes.
For some reason.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you can't lock a door. Most insurances want you to lock your doors.
Well, it's a padlock thing, not
Oh.
having the key available to us if there's something going on upstairs. So if we put a regular lock on the door,
You
then,
have the key right here.
for the padlock?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a regular key lock up there?
No.
No.
But-
It was
Yeah,
only
that's what
that
we need.
padlock
Yeah.
But
because
it hangs in there.
it was never, you know, it was never locked before. It was just a big space. There was no reason to have to lock it
Right,
till we put our stuff up there. But
right, and I understand that.
anyway, I don't think too many people know it's there.
I've never been up there.
I have.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I feel like taking a field trip right now.
No, it's a huge space.
It's an auditorium, it's got a stage. And
The first time I ever came into town hall, I accidentally went up there because I think I was looking for this meeting and it was locked. So I never tried again, and that's been quite a while.
so anyway, we would like to be able to use that space up there. You know, have a museum and display and so forth. But we would want assurance from the select board before we go and go through the work of applying for grants and getting grants and doing that sort of thing. We would want some assurance from the select board that it would be our space. We are not willing to go through all that and then have some other group decide that the Historical Society isn't all that important and they are, and be able to push us out.
I think it makes sense to have the Historical Society upstairs. We're not using the space, they need it.
Right.
It
And
looks,
they can show
And
their goods, you know?
and it looks like you're willing to share meeting space for the common good as needed. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, my guess would be that the select board would welcome the Historical Society being up there, but would also welcome the Historical Society to be generous with the space, which I assume they would be. I mean, I think that sort of, you know, for both for your sort of educational outreach purposes, but also for like-minded sort of activities. You know, not that we would then turn it over to somebody else, but that it's, you know, that it's town space that we would love to have this Historical Society in and love for it to be, you know, available for purposes like that. So,
Well, yeah, if you needed a larger space than this for a meeting, you could, but I know when we had talked about this before, immediately, there was a group that wanted to put on plays up there.
and I remember that there was the one year that had the art show up there. That
Yes.
was sort of right at that same time.
Yes.
Right around 2000, I think that was when it was kind of
Yeah.
transitioning, and there was all the excitement about the idea of a low lift or an elevator, etc. And then next stage came into the picture too, which was quite a bit later, but for a long time the Historical Society was sort of in limbo up there. So, but no, I mean, I was
gonna say, I'm in full favor, and also, I guess, the question I had when I was first looking at that was simply, that is town space, correct?
yes.
So, can we lease out town space?
Well, I don't think we'd be leasing it. I think that, I mean, is that the request to have was to have a sort of a period of time?
Yeah.
So whether that's
A
a
home
lease or whether it's just an agreement, I guess maybe we would want to check with council, which I, you know, sort of hate to say that, but, you know, whether it needs to be a formal agreement in any way in order to offer you the protection you're asking for, and us the protection of, you know, maintaining town oversight of it. I mean, you know, again, I don't see any reason why we would want to take it back, but of course, as we know, select boards and Historical Society boards and everything else change over time, and that may shift. So whether a lease would be the cleanest way to do that or not, I think that I would ask council to
It can be done.
advise us on that.
Westminster's doing it.
Yeah, and that might be the safest way to do it all around.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah.
it also might, as far as your ability to garner grant money, it may be important for you to have that security to say we have,
Longevity.
exactly, that we have secured this space for a period of time. So, so we should explore that, but I think the sense of the board is probably that it's all around a good idea.
I guess my understanding is that the grant would have to be granted to the town,
Probably.
Yes.
but we would
Like a pass.
do the work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that depends on that would be dependent on the nature of the grant. I mean, I think for most things that are improvement of the building itself, that would probably be the case. You know, I mean, for you guys purchasing things and stuff, I wouldn't see, although oftentimes it's better to have the municipality be the pass-through organization, so whatever made the most sense.
I did find the feasibility study for the Putney Town Hall renovation. And this is dated December 2005, so it's
Yeah.
13
sounds
years
about right,
old, okay? So, and I like the idea of housing the Historical Society upstairs myself, because if you're gonna renovate, then we can renovate down here, as there was a plan to do that. So we can maybe do it parallel with one another.
Or at least.
There's gonna be some work to do. We're gonna have to find out, you know, if this building's on the register. If it is, that opens up monies for.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, you might be right, but I
don't
wanna
think
just
so.
double check.
Lisa would certainly know.
Yeah, which means if it's not, then you're restricted to certain grants that we can utilize to renovate. Now, back in 2005, so the first floor to renovate was about $700,000. Well, no, excuse me, $700,000 total for the
Two
first-
floors.
Yeah, so $275,000 for the first floor, and then the second floor was $425,000. And that's 13 years old, so you gotta anticipate this is a lot higher now.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to take into consideration coordinating with the Energy Committee, because if we're going to renovate this building, we probably want to do it in a way that makes it much more energy efficient.
Which we've been chipping away at. I mean, that, and with input from the Energy Committee, but we've done structural work on the whole roof system. You know, these are things that are included in there, but that have been done in the meantime. Structural work on the roof system, the roof, and then a lot of insulating. The whole cap is insulated. The walls are the thing that's still not insulated at all.
Right.
That's the one thing. I mean, you know.
This needs to be updated.
Well, it needs to be updated. It also, my feeling would be, you know, we need to look hard at how much renovation we need in order for you to get the use out of it you want and for it to be practical. I mean, you know, my sense is for you guys to be up there probably does not need to be a $475,000 project.
I wouldn't think so. The main things that I see are, yes, it needs to be insulated. We need an elevator because we need access.
Have to have ADA access.
And we need heat.
Yes.
And sprinklers we're gonna have to put up there.
And a fire escape.
And I don't know what the story is on that, I haven't. There's a lot to
Just
this.
throw a bed sheet out the window.
Then you don't need the sprinkler or the fire escape. No, I mean, heat, you know, heat obviously, I think it depends on how much, you know, at least in the short run, I'm guessing you don't need much of any of that as long as you're not doing significant public meetings up there. You know, I mean, if you're using it for the Historical Society, I don't know, and I don't want to overextend my opinion on that, but, you know, if you're not having public meetings in that space, that changes. You know, all of this was based on that being a town function space, i.e. high occupancy, etc.
Right.
I'm not sure how much of that applies if you're not looking for high occupancy. I mean, that space because of the way it was laid out with the balcony, benches, so on and so forth, you know, you could put, as we remember from town meeting back when, you know, you could put 150, 200 people up there. You can't do that now without all the fire suppression, et cetera. But I don't think that's what you're intending to do, so.
No, I can hardly envision that number of people at a historical society event.
Yeah.
If you can get them there.
Then we might have the money we need, right?
Tea party.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think we should look, and Lisa is totally overextended, but she was intimately involved with this in the first place.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, exceptionally qualified to review it for at least the historical purposes. And then, you know, Tom would obviously have input.
Right.
And our insurance company would have input as to what we need to do in order to make it legal and safe. So,
Of course, the balcony is totally illegal and off limits for human occupancy.
for anybody, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to put up a higher railing and all
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
and have better access and egress,
Yeah.
et cetera, as well. So, no, I mean, I know at one point there was a discussion about the possibility of you guys occupying the balcony for storage space as well, and I don't know whether.
Oh, we do have stuff stored.
Exactly, so, you know,
But
whether
you guys
that,
have stuff stored up.
I'm sure we
I was
do.
up there the other day.
Not for long.
We're
It's gonna
chugging
be
through
moved.
it. But,
Yeah.
Now that I know it's unlocked.
you going out
I'm
right
gonna go
after.
check it out.
It's a
Yeah.
nice space.
I'm
It's-
sure it
it's pretty
is.
easy.
I've been really curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think heat's gonna be key if you're actually gonna try and use it during the winter.
Well,
But,
yeah, obviously, it's going to get cold again.
yes, we would assume. But of course, heating technology has shifted pretty significantly in the last 15 years. So how to do that?
I had a rep from Efficiency Vermont here on Monday,
Yeah.
out of Rutland.
Mhm.
And do you know if there's been an energy audit?
On this building?
So
Yes.
it's been like
Numerous times. Yeah.
with the
It's
guy?
been, yeah, and it's been
Alright, so
updated. We've done
there is a
quite a,
report.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I need to find that and get it to them.
Sevco would have it. Sevco's done most of the
what
insulating
I
work
thought.
for us, so, but, you know, I mean, since that was done, you know, the major things that we've done, we poured concrete in the basement, we insulated the
And I did
basement.
see that, and I brought
Insulated
Megan
the
down there
ceiling.
Monday.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
you know, a bunch of the big, we've been slowly pecking
Picking
away
at
at
it,
stuff
yeah.
to the tune of, you know, 25 to 30,000 bucks a year.
Right,
None of it in the interest really of doing a big renovation, but of doing things that were low-hanging fruit and that wouldn't disrupt a renovation or a restoration if it
Right.
wanted to be done in the future. So
Okay.
that was sort of the thinking behind what we've tried to get done.
right.
But yeah, I think
Very
sort of revisiting.
Okay.
But there's definitely there's audits and
Right.
follow-up
Okay.
audits because those were requirements for payouts for grant money from Efficiency Vermont for
Yeah.
insulating work that we did. There had to be
Megan's gonna look for me,
okay.
and if I can put my fingers on it here, I will do that, because it'd be interesting to see.
I'm sure it's somewhere, but
Yeah.
where,
Upstairs.
yeah.
And the balcony.
Yeah. So I guess the question, you know, I would say yes, it seems to me you have select board support for this. The question is sort of what the next steps are. And I guess I would leave that somewhat up to you guys to try and think about a timeline, you know, needs. I mean, I don't see any reason why, unless it's going to be in the way, I don't see any reason why you couldn't occupy it more completely than you are for storage purposes. In the meantime, trying to figure out sort of what the next steps are. But again, that would be a little bit up to probably Tom Goddard and
Yeah, and Tom, I'm
And,
gonna talk to, I'll talk to Larry,
and our passive representative.
and let's see how that goes, but
Anything else?
It would be nice if we could look at some way to lock that door up there.
I think that's probably not too hard. We could probably just get a proper, I think it's the idea of the padlock, and I hear what you're saying about there being a key available, but if we had a fixed lock that had a key that you guys had and we had, then, you know, we can keep a key in a file cabinet and know that it's somebody. The problem with the padlock is somebody, you know, somebody can come, unlock it, lose track of the key, switch it out, and there's nothing we can do about that.
Well,
So,
the thing is, that was such a makeshift
right,
thing anyway.
padlock.
I mean, I don't really feel badly about the no longer having a padlock
Yes.
on the door. It would be nice to have some kind of a lock.
Absolutely.
No,
I mean.
My idea of the best lock is the ones with the push
Compact.
button numbers.
Yes.
That way you can, if you need to, you can change it. You don't have to
Yeah.
change the whole thing. You just change the numbers and go along.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like them, but I like them.
Well, I'm with you. The only problem is that then, you know, there's no way of controlling the number of people that know that number, and
Right.
over time that.
Well, that's when
But
you
then you
change
change
the
it.
number.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of those as well. Probably check with Wade on that and just
Why-
see.
Yeah, why the.
That's our insurance folks, just to make sure, you know, what they tell us we can do or not do is what we have to do. I mean, I think getting rid of the padlock is a good idea.
Right.
But otherwise, see what he says about that. And again, Tom might have an opinion about that too. But- All right. So do you need more from us at this point, or?
No, I don't think so. It sounds like we've started a conversation and
We
you
go from
guys
there.
get more information, just let us know and,
I'll be in contact with you, Ruth, or
yeah, you can contact me.
I have your number, so.
Okay.
And I don't know, do we have a sign-in sheet? I know.
Yeah, there's one.
Ruth and Mary- Okay, so everybody has signed in, okay, good. Ruth, the only thing I would add to your history is that it was my grandfather, Ed Dodd, and Inez Harlow, who designed and constructed this, which we've talked for years about deconstructing it.
We were
but
talking about
haven't.
it. Why?
Why was it done?
Yes.
Because this was the Historical Society.
And that was a kitchen display.
Exactly, and
That
those,
explains the.
those are beams from specific buildings which were recorded at one time. I don't know whether we still know that information, but they all came out of historically significant buildings in town, so.
So are the herb labels from the kitchen?
That was a display, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and
There's a
they may be upstairs.
The original herbs, still fresh.
What else is
Interesting.
Oh, yes, there
Was
were
it
mannequins. It was a whole
colonial
kitchen
dress.
Right.
display.
Yeah, no, I remember sort of a kettle and, you know, the hanging pot and everything, yeah.
Wow.
So it was set up as a little,
Uh-huh.
Let's see a picture of
Display.
that.
And
I think
Yeah.
that- yeah.
somebody, see, we moved all of our stuff out, and I guess that was when they were gonna do this grand renovation.
right.
And they wanted to take this thing down, but I think there were electrical wires in there somewhere. And when I ran across those, I decided I didn't want to go any further until somebody had deactivated them.
Well, and of course.
Because I don't like fiddling
electrical
with live wires.
in a building
Good
like
choice.
this particularly. But, you know, it would be nice to find out where those beams are from if we could, because then, you know, maybe the whole display gets moved upstairs
Right.
at some point or something.
Yeah,
Could
or
be kind
the-
of fun,
Front entryway.
but,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, thank you for solving that mystery for me.
Yeah, we were worried about that next week.
I didn't mention that because I didn't know much about it. I just knew it was here. And like I say, when we took everything upstairs, they indicated they wanted that gone,
Yeah,
but nobody ever did anything about it.
no, we talked about it, Scott and I talked about it for years. You know, we'll have that here some Saturday, sometime, but. And as far as the table is concerned, we certainly appreciate the loaning of the table.
Yes,
We,
yes, thank you.
we had talked also, I don't know whether you guys talked about this last week, but also of having a round table to be more inclusive. So we've wondered about that. So at some point when you're ready for repossession, we can work something out.
I think
Tough for
that
Tony, yeah.
table was made as a display table, and where the lighter colored wood was glass.
Oh,
And
yeah,
the
and it had,
display things
yeah, that makes
underneath.
sense.
Yeah.
It's solid.
But I think probably they decided that you guys got to pounding on the table so
Exactly.
hard that they didn't want
Yeah.
to break in the glass.
We talked about that historical society and just pounding our fists.
But it has served your purpose.
Absolutely,
It
yeah.
has.
Well, and
It didn't cost you anything.
we've added to its history, so. All right, good, well, thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Miriam.
Thank you.
Today,
Oh,
right?
happy birthday.
Yes. I just left a party to come here.
Oh,
Go back.
yeah.
No, because I don't have to clean up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Carrie was there. She was telling me
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the whole situation. Okay, there's the, thank you.
Okay, good night.
night.
Okay, so errors and omissions certificate, Stephanie Welch.
Yep.
And
So
we talked about this as a mobile home, is
it
that
was a
correct?
mobile home that burned several
Mhm.
years ago. Is it 2013 perhaps? And
I think that's the mobile home we were talking about at
Yes.
that last DCA meeting.
Yeah.
there's the property right there.
Not in red.
No,
Yeah,
no. Wait.
Stephanie Welch, right?
207.1, that's it, it's not labeled.
right. But that is it. See,
That's not the landlocked piece that we own, that looks like, that's what that looks
I
like.
know, that looks
Yeah.
like it's landlocked too, but that's
Yeah.
not, right, she must have access through
Well,
here.
it would be, it's 3271, so it would be access from this side
Yeah.
probably, so
But
however that is.
that is her lot. So another mobile home was moved in a few weeks after the fire. But a bill of sale was never recorded
Oh,
with
that's
the
right.
town clerk.
Yeah,
So the listers didn't realize that there was another mobile home out there. So it has not been being taxed.
the home has not, the parcel has, but the home has
Yeah,
not.
correct, the
Okay.
mobile home has not.
Okay, so this is just,
It's an increase in the value to 8,100.
by 8,100.
Mhm.
Yeah. So an increase from 87.9 to 96,000.
Correct.
Okay. Move to accept the
Yeah.
errors and omissions
Accept the errors
certificate.
and omission on,
What are you guys looking for, town clerk?
Yes.
Straight through there and that way. Yep.
parcel 0302.7.1, Stephanie Welch. 87,900 to 96,000.
Seconded.
And it's been moved and seconded to accept the errors and omissions certificate as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, blue pen. Thank you.
And I apologize for not putting name tags out.
That's okay. Okay.
Stupid,
I know who you are.
Fuel bids recommendation to award contract.
Yeah, it's,
I had to hustle to get things together, so I'm a little disorganized, so you'll have to bear with me for just a moment, okay?
Price?
that's a brief one.
So we did put,
Yeah, it's going up, isn't it?
it is,
think residential was over 3 something thousand.
289
Is that
last
what
I
it was?
heard, but that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Here's the comparisons, those are the bids. We did ask for bids for propane, but we're just gonna award the fuel contract tonight.
Because they haven't, they do propane, don't they?
Not Barrows, no.
They don't?
No. So this is for
Propane too, sure.
gasoline.
Diesel and
Yes,
heating oil.
yes.
Right.
The recommendation is to award Barrows and Fisher Oil, the heating contract, the fuel contract. They are the lowest bid. We've been with them for a while. They're really good about servicing, and the library had run out of oil, and they were right there to deliver and restart the furnace.
Fired up.
So, as far as the propane goes, at this point, we don't really know what our use is gonna be. As you know, the town
With the-
garage is
It
converted.
shifted, yeah.
Yes. And we're with Irving right now. They put the tanks in, they've got the gas right now. So we, and they were not invited to present a bid. But next year, we'll get them on the list and then we'll do a comparison. And we'll know how much use we have at that point too.
Out of curiosity, Barrows is the one that doesn't have a labor rate per hour.
Is it in this contract though?
Um,
There is something in here about, 60 cents per gallon. Hold on a minute.
It's not on that sheet, but. Excuse me.
I do have the original contract someplace. Hold on.
So for labor, is that then including like furnace tune-ups and things like that? Is that what
Yeah,
that's for?
yeah. We had a problem with the furnace just this past fall. So there's some big round thing in there. It's like a clay thing. I forgot what they call it.
The firebox, yeah.
It was totally just disintegrated.
Here, you're talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I am not gonna restart this. You need to have this fixed. It's like,
Realign it?
yeah.
Mhm.
And they had the part in Brattleboro. It was like $200 fix plus the labor. So it ended up being like $400. But it was fixed the same day.
Mhm.
So I thought that was really good. They're very efficient and we can call them and they're right here. Not that any of these other companies
Wouldn't
do the
be,
same,
right.
you know, but Tom speaks highly of them.
Well, and the price speaks for itself. I mean,
Yes,
that
yeah.
too is
Dead
quite a
River is
price
very
difference.
close, but the
Yeah.
price, but they're definitely the low bidder on price. so
Right.
That's good. All right, motion
So
to
moved.
accept the, yeah.
Move to accept bid for, oh yeah, I guess I got it right.
Oh, yeah.
With Barrows and Fisher Oil Company for the 2018-19 season at 2.459 per gallon. And this is for the town hall, fire department, highway garage, and it includes diesel, unleaded gas, and number 2 heating oil.
Mhm.
Each at their individual.
Each at their individual
But
prices,
that's
yes.
what
Right.
price, yeah. Second?
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the Barrows and Fisher heating season fuel contract for 2018-2019 as presented. And I'll just add that Karen will sign as the best.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Holland Hill, we already did that. Windham County Humane Society contract renewal.
Alright, so I presented this
We've had the
a
discussion.
few weeks
Yeah.
ago, and you requested that I have the Animal Advisory Board to look at it.
Mhm.
They have it. They haven't come back with any recommendations. I'm not sure that they've reviewed it. They haven't met in a little bit. So, I looked at it, and it looks like just some formatting changes and, words. The one item I did want to point out is on the first page, town responsibilities. The town shall pay Windham County Humane Society a flat fee of, and there's no number in there.
Yeah, this is what I think we brought up
Yes.
last time too. And,
So I spoke to Annie at Windham County Humane Society. Our contract will remain the same as last year. So I pulled the contract. The flat fee is $675. So there's
Is that
no.
the same as last year or not?
Yes.
It is.
Yep. So other than word changes, there's really nothing substantially changed with this contract. And our contract has expired, by the way.
Okay. Motion to approve that?
Yeah, I guess one question, and I believe we started talking about this, but this is, I think, part of the reason we wanted this to go to the Animal Advisory Committee, was in the exclusions, if there is an issue, the town is responsible for transporting said animal to a veterinary clinic, et cetera. How do we do that?
Windham County Sheriff's Department.
That's,
Right.
until we have an animal control officer,
Right.
by default, we lean on
We
them
lean
to
on
do
them,
that.
okay.
It's,
And they are trained to do that.
They are or they aren't? I'm sorry.
They are.
Okay.
And they're all invited as well to go down there and get into the building.
and learn about it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
They don't
Even
like
off
to do it.
hours,
Mm-hmm.
they're trained, there's a key code and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So I guess the only other question, I'll move to approve the contract with Windham County Humane Society. When is this contract in effect then? If it,
well, it should have been in effect July 1st.
First, yeah.
but so it's been null since the 30th.
Uh-huh.
So do we start from today? I mean, we had no contract, in other words, they weren't responsible for anything, right? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm guessing that they would have taken responsibility
Right.
even if we
They
didn't have it.
would,
I would say,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would say that it's the same contract
Right.
period. You're right, legally, we could probably
Yeah, I'm just
gain
wondering.
2 months on it, but I
Yeah.
don't.
No, I was just curious how that worked.
And historically, Steve, I don't know how many times we would have had to pay a flat fee for them to house a dog or an animal.
Right.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, and as we talked about before, it doesn't happen that often, but when we've needed them, they have certainly stepped
Right,
up. I mean,
right.
they have their limitations, but they
Right.
also have more expertise and ability than
Right.
anybody else around, so.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think they also would like a vicious dog, it's something they won't deal with, so it's outlined in the contract,
Right.
so that municipalities know what they will and will not deal
Right.
with.
All right, so then, I'll move to accept the contract with Windham County Humane Society in effect from 7/1/2018 through 6/30/2019.
That's good.
Seconded?
It's been moved and seconded to accept the contract for animal holding with the Windham County Humane Society. as presented. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. VTrans response form, Bridge 32 on Old Ferry Road over NECCR.
Over the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So this should have been handled like back in June.
Okay.
This is a technicality, it's paperwork that needs to go to the state, but it has to be signed off by the select board. So Josh, you should have.
I do, I was looking at it a minute ago.
So Brian has changed the signage out, so it reads weight limit 5 tons. And that was the request of the state.
Is this the bridge that we had?
No,
No?
this is a bridge that goes to what's now part of the Harlow Farm.
Okay.
Used to be John Knopper's farm out
It's just past,
Mike
Stone,
Park.
Stone, yeah.
Exactly.
Stone Hill.
So if you go out on River Road, it goes to the right-hand side. And it's one of the old ferry locations.
It's nice out there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful out there.
I like riding around.
And this is not a, well, let's see, actually, it's town-owned.
That's
But I don't think we maintain this road, do we?
Yes, we do,
Do
to
we?
the corner. So,
Where it
yes.
doubles back.
Yep,
Okay. Because there's one other residence out there.
yes.
That's right.
I asked Brian that question.
Yeah, so this just, for our purposes, that means the only thing that can be used to maintain this road is one of the pickup trucks.
Right, a 1 ton.
Yeah. And,
So
yeah,
how does that work with farm machinery? Or,
Well, it's
we don't talk about it.
enforcement. Who enforces it? I mean, they have to get across. I drove across it. It wasn't too bad. I mean, the height of it was a little scary.
it's funny, I always assume that. Like,
It's
John
definitely a
Rock-
1-lane bridge.
Mhm. Yeah, oh yeah.
And both
Yeah.
sides are posted, by the way.
Exactly, the
So.
signatures. So,
Yeah, and I don't remember what I know we talked about looking into when this first came up, whose responsibility, is this a New England Railroad?
railroad, right.
Paul Harlow was gonna try to,
Hold them to something.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was trying to work with them, but you know how difficult it is getting anybody
Yeah.
to respond.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure where he's at with that process.
Yeah, and, I think your question, Steve, would be farm equipment,
Right,
Paul's the one that has a financial interest in this
Yeah.
being done, so, we haven't heard more about it since then, but,
'cause we did talk when Paul came in, Brian happened to be here, and, the railroad discourages, like, driving over
right,
the tracks.
right,
If it's already there, it's not an
Right,
issue,
right.
but they don't want no new,
right,
Okay.
overpasses.
overpasses directly over the
Yeah,
tracks, because it's a liability.
right.
But so is this. I mean, but it's not traveled much, it's just farm purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
this is VTrans, okay, yeah.
at some point, we're gonna have to figure out
I'm sure we'll be hearing,
more.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, down the road, I think we're gonna have to project that this is gonna have to be dealt with.
done,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and what get some sort of an engineering, I mean, I think that was the question with New England Railroad was, what responsibilities would they share in how we approach it.
Right.
So, if Paul's looking into that, great, but at
Yeah.
some point, we should, the problem for us is when they come back again and say, well, now it's down to 2 tons, then we're unable to maintain it. And then
Right,
that's a
well,
different
it's hard to get a fire
situation.
truck over there too,
Definitely, yeah,
so.
yeah,
And there's residential structures out there.
Yeah.
So it's something we're gonna have to be thinking about at some point.
Mhm. So we don't need any motion on this. This is
No.
just something that needs to be sent in, or
Yeah.
hasn't been sent in.
No, it hasn't been sent in,
Okay.
it needs a signature from a select board member
Where?
stating that we have taken care of
Mhm.
reposting.
Signage.
Yeah, reposting the bridge.
You want me to sign this one or a different one?
I thought there was a blue one over there somewhere.
Not in my paperwork. Okay.
You can just sign that one, Josh,
Yeah.
that's fine. Like I said, it's paperwork. Trying to stay organized here.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a
lot of
lot,
stuff.
it's like. Thank you.
Okay. VLCT delegate designation form. I'm assuming that we want to delegate Karen Astley as our.
No.
Oh,
Absolutely not, we have a volunteer.
good.
Well,
Who's that?
kind of, sorta.
Oh,
Oh,
Laura?
Yes,
You
I'll do
spoke up.
it. No, we talked about it, but I'll do it. It's Karen really doesn't want to, and I planned on going anyway, so I'll do
Oh,
it.
good, yeah.
It's not that I don't want to, but it's taken the time, you know,
You have enough on your plate.
yes, I do.
It's, if you don't need to do this, if I can do it, then
And-
No,
I'm
and I
happy to.
appreciate you stepping
Yeah.
up to the plate and volunteering to do
Yeah.
this, because each municipality should have a
It's
representative.
good for somebody.
Yes,
Yeah.
so,
All right.
thank you,
So,
Laura.
I'm not sure we need a motion on that, but we're assigning Laura Chapman to be our delegate from the select board.
I promise I'll behave.
So in the email that you sent back, there were two different delegate things in there,
Was there?
but maybe it was just attached twice.
It could be.
Oh, you know what, maybe it was this side.
Right, that's the
Yeah,
letter
okay,
explaining
that's
why
what-
we
that's
need a
what-
delegate.
That's what-
Yes,
Okay.
yep,
Is anybody else gonna go, to any of the,
town fair.
yeah?
You know, I asked the office and there does not seem to be any interest, only because it's in Burlington.
Okay.
I highly recommend like new people to go up there because you can do a lot of networking
Mhm.
and just experience, you know, town fair.
It has been in Killington for years.
Essex, that's where I remember going.
Oh, maybe that's the man,
Yeah.
there's one that's been in Killington for quite a
It
while.
might be the Vermont CMA or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. There's so
Okay.
many.
Alright,
Yeah.
so I'm driving all the way to Burlington by myself.
I might be
Well,
able to get somebody to go.
I was gonna say, there are others from the neighborhood,
Yeah,
definitely.
maybe another,
When you sign up to, there might be a list.
yeah,
This workshop we just attended,
Mhm.
so you may be able to talk to
yeah,
them.
somebody else in the area.
So, yeah. I'd go, but I have to go to Montpelier again next month.
Oh my gosh. No.
But yeah, maybe someone from Dummerston or
Right.
Westminster.
Land gift and Wheeler, so do we need to take action on this, or are we just recognizing, so
It's up to you.
this is a letter from Ann Wheeler at 41 Old Depot Road, reading, please consider this a formal document that gifts my land parcel ID 305137 to the town of Putney, Vermont. I'm the sole owner of this parcel and gift it without restrictions to its use. I ask that the town be responsible for any costs related to transferring the deed to the town. Thank you for your consideration.
So it's in the village.
So is that adjacent to the water?
This is the one
Yeah.
that's to the treatment plant.
Yeah.
So there's the
It's a
treatment
weird
plant.
stretch
Yeah.
of land, isn't it?
So, and what's it say over there, Josh? 5, how many acres?
This one is 35137. I don't have acreage. I think we said 3.4, wasn't it?
Five
Oh,
point-
3.61, yeah,
by the GS, but
Yeah.
the grand list,
5.6.
yeah, because she probably owns something else over
Oh,
here.
could be.
Right.
3.51.
Oh, look on the back of that letter, because I think it was the, on the very back page is the grand list,
Oh, yeah.
lister's card. So it
Okay.
is, well, yeah, it says 5.6 on the grand list.
It says they changed the acreage to match the deed. So, yeah, it does say that. You know, maybe we should just, I don't know whether they change stuff when it's got a GIS.
I don't know, but we
probably-
have an idea
We should
of
make
what-
them aware.
Hmm.
But the reason we're willing to accept it is because it's adjacent to the two pieces that are the
Treatment,
treatment plant. So, you know, it's logical that we would,
entertain.
She owns this one too.
yeah. Oh, this is Old Depot, so that's Bill.
Oh, so is this the, oh no, that's the other thing. Just can't, I never.
I think it's that, might be that brick, I think that might be that brick
One?
house. I'm not sure though. It's one of those in there.
I haven't had a chance to talk to Chris Hayes to see if that is valuable, possibly, to the town.
Yeah, I
'Cause if
mean,
we ever had to upgrade, do we have enough property?
well, I think that would be the potential value of it is
Correct.
just more acreage
Yes.
to be able to work with. And,
Yeah.
and the fact that it has a,
Access
you know,
to-
just a long, well, it's not actually an access because I don't think this is a road in here.
I was thinking more,
That's Sackett's
That's-
Brook.
Yes,
Sackett's and-
yep.
so I was thinking access to Sackett's, whether or not we'd need that, but,
I can talk to Larry too,
I
if you'd
wonder why
like.
Soundview.
yeah, I was curious.
I bet they were probably, you know, they probably used them for spreading
Oh, the-
material at some point. I don't, but that would have been a long time ago, but long before it was Soundview, I don't know. But anyway, I don't see any downside to taking it. Are you
That's
thinking we should
nice.
confirm that with Larry or not?
It's totally up to you.
I mean, the downside is it comes off the
Tax roll.
off the tax rolls.
Right.
But I think the advantage to us of owning more that's contiguous with the, I just don't see that as a downside, enough of a downside to not make it worth it. But I don't know, we could run it by Larry first if we wanted to, but I don't see the need to.
Because it's adjacent to the water treatment, it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And,
It just gives us more leeway down there that we, and also just owning both sides of the road on the access road would seem useful.
So I would have to talk to Larry anyway,
Yeah,
because she's asking us to take care of the costs.
yeah, okay. So why don't you run it by Larry?
Mm-hmm.
We'll table it till next meeting. But,
Okay.
sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay, so last item on the agenda is gravel pit. And this is really just to make public the discussion that we have been having with the town of Dummerston about the possibility of purchasing what's currently the Renewal gravel pit that we currently use gravel from and purchase gravel from Mike Renaud. And he is looking to sell it to the towns of Putney and Dummerston. We have entered into agreements with Stevens and Associates for an engineering feasibility study for the cost of $3,500, $3,300, $3,000 even, of which we in Dummerston are splitting the cost of that, and that's both a fiscal and physical evaluation of the quantities that are there, of the various different components of it, i.e. sand, gravel, and ledge material, and the financial implications of it, both as far as the money involved in harvesting that material, but also in permitting, etc. So to give us an idea of what the financial implications are, as well as the gravel content implications. We have also agreed with Larry Slayson to have he working for the town of Putney and Bob Fisher as counsel for the town of Dummerston to work together to explore all the legal details involved, i.e. what kind of an agreement would we have with the town of Dummerston, what are the legalities of the permitting involved, what would the purchase and sale agreement need to look like, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that's sort of legal related, Larry and Bob are going to work through the details of that and then be in touch with us, and also work on coming up with the requirements as far as bonding and meeting times and warning times and things like that, in order to have all the legalities involved. It's our sense that there is probably at least 40 years worth of gravel and other aggregate in this pit, that 40 years worth for the two towns. We'd like to think that there's probably significantly more than that, but I think we can safely say that there's roughly 40 years, and that will be part of what Stevens and Associates will enlighten us on, is what the reality of that is. Until we have information back from both Stevens and from Larry Slayson and Bob Fisher's offices, we really don't know any of the details, and don't want to speculate as to what the details are. So it's really just to let people know that we've been talking. It's been several weeks. We've had two meetings. Myself, Karen, Brian Harlow have been to two meetings with Dummerston representatives, and in executive session I have been keeping Laura and Steve apprised of that information. So we just, mostly in the interest of transparency, we're not looking to keep this from anybody. We just wanted to sort of do our beginning of due diligence before we talked in public session about it. So that's what this is. So I don't know whether either of you guys have any questions, but again, sort of detail wise, we're going to wait until we know the facts before we try and figure out too much of it.
That's very accurate, yeah.
Go from there.
Yeah.
But we're hopeful that it will make good financial sense. It's not something that we're likely to tremendously benefit from in the short run financially, but over the longer haul, we think it will definitely be in the town's best interest. So that's our hope. So
financial security.
And security of having access to the gravel, right? Yeah. So if people have questions about that, they can certainly ask myself or Karen or Stephen or Laura, and when we have more information, we will make it public. So, town manager's report. I'm going to ask that we don't review the town hall door estimate. because I think that it's a different scope of work than we actually want done.
So you have a table?
So I'm gonna ask that we table that. I had looked into having somebody, and had somebody come and look at just replacing the door units themselves, and I think that would be, we have a bid from Cole Streeter, and it's a good bid. It's just a different scope of work that I think we'd like to look at, because I think once we sort of reviewed this and thought about it, that we felt that it was that was probably a larger project than we really needed to do for those doors. So
I was surprised when I saw it, from what we'd spoken about earlier.
yeah, so I will,
Touch base with Anthony?
yes, and try
Thank
and
you.
get that, and try
It'd
and
be
get
nice
that
to do something
before it gets too
winter.
cold. Yes. Yeah. I think that's
The
doable.
snow blows in.
Yes. Well, not yet. We don't have snow yet, so, but we know
It
from
does.
last year.
It does.
Well, and it freezes, and, yeah, we know. So we'll follow up.
All right, thank you.
Do you have anything else for town manager's report?
I
or-
don't, I just
Okay.
thought this was plenty.
Yeah. So warrants.
I have those. Someone want to make a,
I'll move to approve and execute the warrants presented upon review.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants as presented upon review. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
right, so payroll warrant dated September 7th in the amount of $11,295.81. So this includes the library. Lifeguards are all done at this point.
And the rest, have the last paycheck, what else?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we get all the keys back.
Lifeguard.
except for
I
one.
have the one
Yes,
that's the town hall one.
there's one lifeguard that we need to keep back.
Okay. And we're tracking them down.
He's in college, but we know who he is, so. That's-
You get that? We know who you are.
Such a weird shaped.
I know.
Yeah, it's an oddball.
Yeah.
So it almost must have been part of a larger parcel that
Yeah.
was slowly carved up or
Yeah.
something. All right, next warrant.
Payroll warrant dated September 14th in the amount of $5,417.17. So this is just off the staff and highway department and our fire chief. Accounts payable dated August 31st through 9/14, $48,442.78. Much better than the last one we had.
School.
I like those.
Don't get your hopes up that that's gonna be the best one.
I like those numbers. There's really nothing that is else, like,
More significant.
yeah, it's just general. Sheriff's contract is in there, Simon's is in there. I think if you keep flipping.
Yeah, I know, I
you'll
see,
see,
okay. No, at first, I was
I know.
going, this is not equaling $48,000. Okay. Let's see if there's any outliers.
I didn't see anything that jumped out at me that was like, oh my goodness.
I assume this public hearing is gonna be at the fire department?
No, it's gonna be here.
Okay.
I don't expect many people.
Because we already had the one that was sort of informational, so,
Okay.
but you never know.
Right. It could be standing room.
For which?
For the public
Flood.
hearing.
Oops.
And I just because Windham County isn't here, I gather it came up at the last meeting that our sheriff has taken a position, not our sheriff, but our deputy has taken a
Ian
position.
Tuttle has
about
gone to Bellows Falls. He's not the only one. I just found out today.
Mm-hmm.
I have not met the new deputy sheriff yet.
that. But we have one.
Chris DeVito.
Yeah.
I have spoken to him.
I met him very briefly at the school.
And, but I haven't seen him yet. And all last week he was on special detail, so he was not in Putney. But
When is he supposed to start here?
he's already started.
Oh, he just wasn't here last week.
Well, Ian left on what, the 29th?
And he took a position up in Bellows Falls.
And 28th,
Yes.
yeah.
I'd like to just say thank you to Ian for his time here and hope things go well for him in Bellows Falls. As we have talked about when this has happened in the past, we are one of those towns that's subject to new, younger people coming in, training up a little bit and moving on. It's sort of the nature of the beast, you
Yeah.
know, unfortunately.
Ian did come in and speak to me.
Yeah. So we should meet the new guy when we have the opportunity to.
Shall I have him at a meeting?
Sure. All right. I think that takes care of, other than to say that we will have, that's all for other business, we're just announcing that there will be a public hearing for the flood and fluvial erosion hazard regulations September 26th, so our next regular meeting at 5 o'clock here at Town Hall.
Yes.
So if people have questions or comments, they are welcome to come.
And the information is still on the website that people can look at if they need it. And we do have copies here as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have need for an executive session, do we? Do you?
We do not.
Okay. Anybody else need for executive session? No?
Yeah, definitely here.
So our next meeting date is also September 26th at 5:30. So we'll have half an hour of the public hearing first and then start our regular meeting at 5:30.
Mhm.
So, and other than that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, we do need an executive session. 2 hours. It's gonna take